All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh yes. Now we go. Now we're talking. Attention, everyone behind the hallway or over there somewhere behind the door. We are now ready to begin. Whoever is late is not gonna get in. We are locking the doors until the event ends. So sorry. If you're late, you're late. Anyway, welcome everyone, gals and lads, and everyone else. Welcome to the WarsawJS 126. Yes. Now we have the energy. All right. I'm so happy to see everyone here, everyone who made it here despite the horrible weather. And do we have anyone here who is here for the first time? Yes. Everyone who is here not for the first time, clap for those who are here for the first time. Thank you. You enjoy that. Right. And okay, let's see the next slide. What's there? Of course. What is WarsawJS? WarsawJS is a local community of JavaScript enthusiasts. And as usual, we meet each month to talk about all things JavaScript, JavaScript that runs in the browser, JavaScript that runs on the backend, JavaScript that runs on smart fridges, anything you can imagine. And we are just recently, or not recently, surpassed 200 events in total, which is incredible. And yes, thank you, thank you. I love how you proactively clap without me having to ask you. Right, so there's not just this meetup. There's so much. In fact, there's so many things here, not just the meetup. We have meetups, we have conferences or a conference. Maybe at some point we're going to discuss that. We have workshops. There's a blog, which I think you can contribute to, which is open source since very recently, which is really cool. We have the masterclass, we have photo sessions, and a Cursor AI Jam, which I'm going to talk about just a little later. And of course, there is the Slack community. So if you are not in the Slack community, what are you even doing? And yes, we exist to support, is this the same thing on the previous slide? I don't know. Yes, we exist to support both professional and novice software developers in the IT industry. We are international and we are for everyone. And this part is really important because anyone here heard of Berlin Code of Conduct? Everyone, of course, not everyone. I'm pretty sure that 90% of the people didn't even read this, but you don't have to, because the Berlin Code of Conduct can be summed up with don't be an ass. This is Berlin Code of Conduct. And if you see someone being not a very nice person, please feel free to quietly report it to our organizers. If the organizers are not nice, report them to me. All right, I think we're ready to move on. Oh, that's me. I'm your host today. This is my name and last name. And none of this would have happened without our amazing team, which is Piotr and Sasha, head organizers. Yes, yes, you know what to do. Clap like your life depends on it. That's not the end, because we also have our amazing volunteers, which are Agnieszka, Dovbek, Mehdi, Piotr. I mean, you can start clapping. Martina, Pavel, Ilian, and Krzyszek. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so thankful to work with. Well, not really work, they don't pay me for this, but just be with all those amazing people here who make this happen every single month. Not just this, but a bunch of other events, right? Most importantly, this runs. You, as the people, are running in the veins of the JavaScript community in Warsaw, and if you're thinking about going up on the stage one day and speak about something, please scan this QR code. I'm waiting. So I will wait until at least a single person does that, and then we can proceed. Perfect. Please do this, because this is, like, for me, speaking on stage, being somewhere, it opened up a lot of roads. And I'm just now interviewing for jobs that I got because this is really hot here, sorry. Yeah, right, the Cursor AI Jam. Piotr, you want to talk about this? No? This kind of stage. I don't know a lot about this. Do it. Good idea. Yes, you are the man.
We are jamming every 2 weeks on Saturdays, and on Saturday we have 5 hours for the jam. We are working in a small group, maybe 2 in a group, maybe someone wants to program alone, and we get inspirations from people from business. So there are coming people who are sometimes angel investors. It's like it starts even to work like a proto accelerator for startups. And you can test your idea. Last time we created an app that helps to find dogs with a QR code that is very simple, that it goes to the website and then you can scan your location and the dog owner is informed. Another app is created by Sasha. I don't know, maybe she will tell you more about this after the release. But in general, yeah, no time for it. Okay, so in general, it's possible to create a nice prototype during this jam. You have support from mentors. Kasper Zawojski is today with us, and he's a mentor. You can speak. Yes, here's Kasper. Kasper, can you show up because yeah, and he's a volunteer. That's why the jam is so affordable. So thank you very much, Kasper. Big applause for you. Thank you. And thanks to you and Kasper, I also learned how to use vibe coding in prototyping, so it was a lot of pleasure. So thank you very much, and I give you back.
Lovely. Now we have the P Combinator, as in like Polish. You know, okay, that joke didn't land. All right. Y Combinator, P Combinator. Okay. Anyway. It's our own startup incubator. Right, of course we have the sponsors. We've never been able to do anything without the sponsors. We have Xfang as per usual. Yes, yes! And Dialo, I hope. Yes, that's the Dialo? Right, Dialo. Dialo is, they are really good friends of the event. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it today, but they really asked me and us to speak a little bit about the company that they're building robotic support agents. It sounds kind of bad, but it's actually pretty cool. AI-powered agents that take over and speak over the phone, and they're working with leading businesses and banks in Poland like mBank and Santander. And if you are interested, they are hiring people here in Poland, and you can go to Dial website on the careers page. I think maybe we'll have a QR code later somewhere. Right, and of course, thank you to Paramount for having us here and lending out those beautiful amenities to us for the verse. Yes, thank you. And as per usual, we have our partners, KMag, epam, and JetBrains. Thank you so much. Do we have a... Most likely, I'm going to say yes, that as per usual, we will have one... Piotr, are you here? No. Okay. We probably have JetBrains license. We have a JetBrains license. Yes, one. Five. Wow. We have 5 whole JetBrains licenses to give out. These will be awarded if you ask a question after the talk. Please raise your hands. You'll be given a microphone, and a speaker, I suppose, will choose the best ones to receive a license, which is pretty cool. I use JetBrains every day, mostly every day. Now I don't have a job, so I don't. Yes. All right, we have our amazing speakers. We have Tomasz Tuchin. We have Daniel and Mariusz. And I think Tomasz really wants to go on stage because he needs to leave. So I'll just rush through that and talk about other speakers later. I'm so sorry, but Tomasz, please come on stage while we set up. Give me a hand. Yes. So this is... All right. While he's setting up, I'm a big fan of cooking, and I love Spanish. Oh, sorry, that's not Spanish, just Italian cuisine. I like spaghetti as well. But Tomasz here hates spaghetti. With all the power in his mind, he is gonna talk about how to get rid of spaghetti in your code base. You ready? All good?
Yep.
Lovely. Give me a hand again, please.
Okay, so welcome everyone. As you can see here, the title is Modularize Your Front-End Architecture. So each word here, like modularization, front-end, and architecture, is quite a topic for a separate PhD on its own. So I cannot cover this in 18 or 20 minutes, like, thoroughly, but I would like to suggest to you a probably different perspective, different way of looking at how do you design your architecture, how do you modularize your applications And that is certainly not going to be the absolutely best way to design applications, but I would like you to remember that way, remember that tool, and to be able to basically choose the approach, choose the tool that fits your certain application. So this is going to be something that is less technical and more closer to architecture and business. From my kind of experience, this is a, let's say, perspective that front-end developers often tend to ignore or don't care about as much as they should. So yeah, my name is Tomasz, and I've been working in this industry kind of since 2007. I've been doing many things, many roles, like being a developer, team lead, architect, consultant, auditor, blah, 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 many different things. Right now, I'm independent consultant, and I cooperate with multiple teams trying to help them with removing obstacles related to architecture, performance, testability, whatever that is. I'm also an author of the Architektura na Froncie, INF course, and the new one that we have just launched yesterday, Developer Jutra. Both are in Polish. What I find kind of important in our modern industry is that it's kind of being reshaped very significantly. And I believe that the skills that we have gathered during all our careers are going to be reevaluated. Some of the skills that we have gained are going to be extremely important, and some of the skills that we've had so far might lose their importance also significantly. So what I believe very strongly is that product engineering, working on products, not necessarily technical frameworks, is going to be the way forward. If you're interested in product engineering architecture and basically getting out of your kind of thin specialization and getting more kind of a generalized developer who is not afraid of front and back end databases, DevOps, operations, etc., I would like to invite you to the course. So I would like to start with, well, whenever we were speaking about designing anything and architecture, first and foremost, the first thing that you will probably hear is that it depends. And I also want to start with that. It always depends what you need, what are you going to choose, what are the trade-offs, what are the pros and cons of different choices, of different solutions. Now, if you take a look at this duality, you will see that depending on looking at a certain perspective, you will see totally different things. So it very much depends on what you care about. What are your architectural drivers? So I have only 18 minutes, so yeah, that's going to be very quick. But I would like you to take a different perspective on front-end. So first thing, I would like you to reconsider or maybe even drop thinking about centralized stores when it comes to front-end engineering. And I've got a couple of reasons for that. Now, I'm not evangelizing any specific solutions. To be honest, I really don't care what framework are you using. It's really not that important. But in the long run, what I've seen in my experience in consulting different applications is that way more often than not, centralized stores introduce way more problems than they're worth. And another thing is, if you're thinking about way to kind of cut your application into pieces, try to think about the verbs, so the actions, the business actions, the business activities that your system, that your product is capable of doing, and not the nouns. By nouns, I mean basically data, tables in a database, entities that you fetch via ORM or by SQL, whatever that is. So basically, don't focus on data, focus on business activities. Why? First and foremost, that's because how business is going to split the organization to deliver products to customers, right? And that's almost never being divided by your database schema. Obvious, right? But we need to change our perspective. Now, if there are people who think about splitting the application by business activities, by business modules, by business capabilities, that's perfectly fine. So I'm very happy that you have already crossed that river onto the other side. Though, yeah, again, from my experience, that's not very common on front end, unfortunately. Finally, we should focus on business domain, and by that, I'm going to very extremely briefly introduce strategic domain-driven design, DDD, here. So we're going to just touch the tip of the iceberg, or the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. Again, that's just 18 minutes. But I think still these 18 minutes are going to be very useful for you and will give you a different perspective. Now, something that could sound a little theoretical, maybe you have heard about Conway's law and all these team topologies, etc., etc. These are very important things when you think about a product that is going to be organized into teams that should finally deliver software. Now, what is important to everybody? If you think about your project, what do you see? You might see a repo. You might see a bunch of repos. You might see CI/CD pipelines or builds or whatever. But on the other hand, so this is the technical layer. You might see the tools, the frameworks, the dependencies, package JSON, whatever that is. But on the other hand, and this is very important from the perspective of that's called socio-technical systems. System has a technical part, but there is also a human part, us, the people, the teams. The teams have different business priorities that are being assigned to them. Now, we should not ignore the, let's say, team layer, the team responsibility, the team priorities when designing the architecture. By the way, for architecture, how teams are organized is as important as all the technical aspects, because it's the team who is going to deliver, it's the team who is going to focus on the priorities, it's the team who is going to make decisions, right? So from a high level, from architecture perspective, the team is going to be assigned a priority, a goal. And now, whatever it takes to meet the goal, to meet the criteria, that's going to be a good solution. By the way, so why am I questioning centralized stores as viable solutions? Imagine that you're starting with a system that is rather small, but it's growing more and more. People are working on it, especially if this is a, let's say, big corporate system that multiple teams are already working on it, and somebody decides to come up with centralized stores such as, yeah, you name it, Redux, NGRX, the traditional one, whatever the centralized thing is. The problem is that we would like teams to be independent on each other, right? Because teams have different goals, teams have different priorities. And now, if I create a room, like a store, like the store for the state, for a front-end application, the thing is, the more teams share, the less independent they are, right? And this is something that has pretty much not very many technical aspects related to it, but it's very, very, very important in the long run. So I would like to draw a little bit for you. So first of all, the first thing that I would like to focus on is that we might have, dear everybody, different teams. So let's say there would be a team A, team B, and team C. Now, if we provide a centralized state management solution that would have to fit all of them, the problem is, dear everybody, how would we make them independent? So let's say there is some piece of the state, there is some other piece of the state. I'm just going to use different colors for different teams. Now, you could say basically, what would go wrong here? Everything is fine, everything is nice. But things turn out not to be very simple, rather sooner than later. What would happen, dear everybody, if I have a piece of state that is going to be shared across the two teams? Where should I put it? Sooner or later, this is going to happen. And actually, this happens way more often than not, that we have some shared data. Now, the problem with centralized stores is that they tend to be normalized, such as you have normalized databases. So basically, a data store, database, whatever we call it, is normalized when there is a single source of truth for every piece of information. So basically, if there is a product, if there is a user, if there is anything, there is basically one record, one document, one object. So we fetch the data from one place. If we want to update it, we update it at one place. So you could say, hey, that's kind of a nice feature, like single source of truth. What could go wrong with this? Dear everybody. Hmm? Everyone changes everything. So first of all, I might want to have a, let's say, list of objects as an array, and I would like to have a list of objects as a dictionary, whatever, for whatever reasons there are. I might want to have something paginated. I would like to have something cached. I don't want to have something cached. Now, whatever I share, we need to find a compromise. We need to find a trade-off, right? So we need to find a common decision, common ground. Now, since, let's say, I'm going to relate to an example from e-commerce, so because that's basically something that more or less we all know, so we know how do customers come to find a product in a catalog, to add a product to a cart, then to submit an order, etc., etc. We all know this process more or less well. So the entity that we might want to focus on is, for instance, a product. So a product in an e-commerce system is something that would basically pop up, maybe not everywhere, but in many, many different modules, different views, different places. But the thing is, the product means a totally different thing depending on which place of the system, which view of the application, of the interface you're looking at. And now, most probably, like, of course, it depends on your company or your product, but most probably what product means is going to be totally different across the teams. Now, should you have a single model that would define what a product is and be shared across different teams? Most probably not. Now, if you think about, like, if you would ask me, why am I speaking about all this? And that's true, yes, because everybody wants to find a normalized model, normalized data structure. What is called, to everybody, in architecture, it's called canonical data model. So basically that means there is a single unified model that everybody is going to use. To everybody, what should a product include? What should be the data for a product, generally speaking? ID, sure, like, obviously, like name, right. What else? Price. Sorry? EAM? Okay. No, oh, okay, whatever. What else? Description, yeah. Probably some categories, pictures. What else? Many different ways of discounting, right? Because there could be rebates, discounts based on time period, based on customer, based on blah, 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 blah. Many different strategies. Lowest price. Like you mean the regulations from the law's perspective? Yeah, lowest price in last 30 days, etc. What else? Sorry? Replacements. Replacements, like complementary products, and all these things. Okay, so I think that's enough for now. And now, dear everybody, what's the problem? Now, generally speaking, my thesis is most probably you would like all the teams to have a separate model. And yeah, as you can imagine, that's not what I see in my consultancy work. Now, dear everybody, what would be a canonical data model? It's basically this one TypeScript interface or whatever language you're using that is going to include maybe not all of them exactly, but too many of them, too many of these pieces. Now, dear everybody, cool. So these are the data that we would need to have in a product, but this is not all of the data because you could easily find out all the pieces that we are still missing. But let's now figure out what are the modules within a e-commerce system that a typical user would need to go through in order to do their stuff in a shop. So first of all, the first thing, catalog. So I'm just, as a customer, I'm just browsing through what is available, right? What next? Filters. Yeah, so basically filter would be a feature within a catalog, more or less. Checkout, so cart first, right? So after a cart, there would be a checkout to submit orders, right? Yeah, what next? Payment, sure. What next? Yeah, so there would be a notification here and there, but notifications could be in multiple different places, right? So there is not going to be a single kind of, notification page. User profile, okay, so that's, user profile is not a part of the business process, right? So it's a part of a system or it's a module in the system, but it's not a part of the business process. Yeah, what, just after the payment? Delivery. Of course, delivery, right? What else? Now, if I buy something and I pay for it and I finally receive it, what is the kind of, maybe not the last, but recommendations, like maybe you would like to buy something more from us, right? So recommendations could be, what else? Review, feedback. Feedback/review. So how did you like it, right? Exactly. And now, let's confront this model with all these modules that we have drawn over here. Of course, you could figure out that this doesn't have to be exactly a linear process, and most probably it's not linear, and there might be many different forks going, left, right, up, down, etc. There might be many, what we call in architecture, swim lanes. How do we go through the process? So there might be lots of different variations. But somebody has mentioned that there is a price. Okay. Now, what I would like to ask you is, like, somebody mentioned price. I know that was not a detailed question, but imagine you walk into a project and you see that there is a product interface or a class, and it has a price number or price float, price decimal property. Now, what is a catalog price? How would you describe it in just a few words? What does a price mean in terms of the catalog?
When the client sees the product, they can understand either they can afford it or not.
Yeah, so the clients can see a product and determine whether they can afford it or not. But generally, this is our offer. How expensive is the product? What do we offer for you to buy, right? So that's one thing. But when we are here, is the price the same thing when we check out? Not necessarily, right? Yeah, but okay, so the sum of all of these, I believe that's going to be a total price over here, so that would be yet another thing. But a price for a product in the catalog and the price for the product in checkout is not semantically the same thing. Is that anyhow outlined from the price word? No. And that's the thing. Now, I don't mean that you should have a very long property name that describes absolutely the whole world, because that might not be the most effective and the most comfortable way for doing things. So maybe we would just like to have a price. But the thing is, if this team is responsible for the catalog, the price always means the very same thing, which means this is an offer for anonymous customer always, period. Now, if you have a rebate or a discount or whatever we call it, that would be a totally different team. Now, that team, when they provide a price for a catalog, that always means after, let's say, that could be for an anonymous customer, of course, but there could also be a customer that is, I don't know, put into a group, or a customer that has already made some orders, and for this reason, we give them some rebate, depending on, and here comes multiple different strategies. But the thing is, we have a price here, we have a price here, but there is a different semantics. So essentially, this is what strategic DDD is about. Basically, the same word, product, the same word, price, but different meaning. Semantics is different. So this is very kind of brief, very, very short, but if you understand this simple kind of trick, and doctors are going to hate me for it, then you kind of understand the entry level to what DDD essentially is about. Okay, so we've got a payment. Now, if I have a payment, what should be the document that confirms that I have bought something? Invoice or a receipt, yeah, so let's focus on invoice. Now, what is the price on an invoice? Is that the same thing that I see in previous modules? Totally different, right? Like, I can assume nothing. I can make no assumptions that it's going to be the same thing, right? So, first of all, different pieces of knowledge could have totally different semantics, so that's one thing. Now, could you please tell me description, or, yeah, in which modules would description fit? Catalog. Yeah, all right. So, in which modules does, let's say, discounting make sense? Where should we put it? Checkout. For instance, of course, we could have a separate rebate modules, etc. So we're not going to, divide it by very small pieces. So that's not our goal here. All right. So what should we put into an invoice? Like, we have not, put all the important data. So yeah, we're going to add something here. What should we include about a product in invoices? Tax information, right? But where should tax information be also included? Apart from invoices. Checkout. Okay, so this depends on the business. So essentially, in one shop, you would show what is the information about the tax on the checkout stage. On other businesses, it might not make sense, right? So it highly depends. But what is important? Let's say our law regulations today, let's say 15th or 14th May, whatever today date is, let's say we don't have to display it. But there is a law regulation coming up in, I don't know, month or whatever, and from that moment, we have to put it. Dear everybody, how many teams should be affected by the change? Wow. Well, that would be expected that there would be one. Now, think about it again. If you think about something that is unified, a model that is going to be used across modules, a model that is going to be across teams, this, whatever you share, is going to be, dear everybody, affecting everybody that is using it. And now, I think we've got the idea. How could we use a centralized store solution if we do carry on with multiple teams, so that we kind of get the best of both worlds, so that we do have different models for different teams, for different modules, but technically, for whatever reason, let's say legacy reasons, we do want to use this Redux, NGRX, whatever that is. How could we kind of, in Polish we say, have an apple and eat the apple? How could we connect the two things? Essentially, most probably, and well, what I see most often is that on your API, there would be a get/products on your endpoint, or get/something/products, and here you would have a definition for products, right? But if you want to get the data from catalog, you get it from here. If you want to get the data for invoice, well, maybe you get it from here, right? Because this already exists here, but this is, again, a unified definition. Now, what many developers do very often is that since there is a endpoint that provides a model, this is going to be reflected in our client store, right? So whether it's Redux, NGRX, whatever you're using, there would be basically a slice that defines products and is getting shared, right? So what could we do instead of that? We could do namespacing, but the thing is, we would have products, let's say catalog products, that could be basically namespacing, but we have a product here, and let's say we have a cart products, or whatever, or basically a cart, but cart also includes the information about the product, right? If we have, let's say, an admin panel that is going to modify the data about the products, then we would have, again, edited or editable products, etc. What is going to happen across the data that is being used in these different slices of the state? There is going to be some redundancy across them, right? For instance, definitely ID is going to be included here and here and here and most probably in many other places as well. But the name could also be included, right? So do I need to know the name of the product in the catalog? Yes. Do I need to know the name in the checkout? Yes. Do I need to know the name in the invoice, etc., etc., etc.? Yes. So there might be way more redundancy. And then a front-end developer comes and say, hey, if I need to change the name, then I need to change multiple places, and that sucks. So let's provide a single definition. What should be the solution here? To everybody. So, first of all, to everybody, what we do here, if we provide a centralized definition, so this canonical data model, then the teams, the modules, get integrated with each other, right? But they get integrated by data. So this is one of the most coupled ways of integration. We can integrate by events, we can integrate by commands, so basically what has happened, what I want you to do, so what I want to happen in the future, and by data, so what we have right here, right now. Integration by data, integration by state is like integration by database. This is one of the most coupling solution. Now, what is the number one solution to provide decoupling generally in software? What abstractions? Not by data, not by commands, because we're not really interested in changing anything, or not, at least not yet, because it's quite difficult to figure out what is a command, what is an event on front-end, right? And that's, by the way, why Redux introduced actions, which is not an event, not a command, nobody knows what it is, right? But, to everybody, events. So, if I'm in a module where I edit a product, and I change the name, what is the problem for me to basically dispatch an event that would be called name changed, right? And now, whoever is interested, just listen to this plain old stupid event, which is just a plain old object. And that's it. That's the most fundamental thing to everybody decouple modules, decouple pieces of your architecture. So basically use events. Now, have you ever find a code base where you have a centralized store solution where different slices communicate outside of the store via events, just to update? Probably no, I have not seen it either. So even though this is most probably a good idea to decouple different teams because they have different priorities and different constraints, etc. This is a good idea, but that's not something you will ever see in any front-end tutorial. Why? Because front-end developers are not really interested in architecture and basically the fundamentals of software design, etc. So what I would suggest you to do is basically don't go into centralized store solutions, because if you have distributed stores, like, I don't know, MobX, like NGRX signal stores, you name it, whatever that is, then you need to integrate them technically anyway. And also, if one team wants to have one solution, another team wants to have a different solution, they're free to go. So I would like to leave you with this single idea that please think about the semantics of what a certain piece of information means, that most probably you don't want to have a single definition of a thing. Think about what does that mean from a business perspective, what is a semantic of an entity, and you might want to have multiple different definitions of what a product is for totally different teams, right? They don't need to be the same. How do they integrate with each other? Via events. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So now that was fantastic. Especially, was it Excalibur or?
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Love it. There's two big camps, Excalibur or TL Draw, and there's like a perpetual war. Anyway, do we have questions? Remember, okay. There we go. Please, you're gonna receive a microphone in your face now. Yes. There you go. That sounded wrong.
Does it? Oh, okay, it works. Okay, I thought it's just a toy. Yeah, great talk. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Just to consider like bigger projects that run for, let's say, years by different teams, have you considered like a mixed approach where you have event-driven front-end architecture, let's say, approach with some shared stores for, let's say, snapshots and many other things? Because you could have some shared logic in calculating some, I don't know, analytics or other data or just validations, and you would like to share it across all the consumers. Like, what's your attitude towards those mixed approaches?
Okay. So first of all, it's not a problem that is new. Kind of with all due respect, of course, but you're not the first person that asks this kind of question. So what I would advise kind of you all to do is basically to reach out to literature. So what I mean by that would be basically implementing domain-driven design, etc. Or you can basically query or prompt your LLM to basically kind of summarize the most important things, etc. But answering your question, it's kind of a standard way to separate logic into two different types. One is the technical aspects, so basically how to deal with your technical library, what are the patterns to deal with that, etc. And a totally different thing is domain related. So about your business. So for instance, if you have a library, I don't know, React query, Angular query, whatever, and you need to have a reusable utility that doesn't care whether it's a product or an order or an invoice, basically it doesn't matter at all. So basically no problem to share it, because what would be a reason for anybody to change it? Basically a change of the library itself, right? So if you want to opt out, like your team wants to opt out from a certain library, certain tool, whatever, then maybe they can, maybe they cannot. But if they change the library, they don't need your utility anymore. Right? So depending on your kind of conventions, you can do it. But if you have a piece of logic, domain logic that you would like to share, then problems start to pop up. For instance, how do you calculate price? A totally different algorithm or a strategy for calculating price could be for a cart or a cart checkout, because slightly different calculations appear there depending on who you are, blah, 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 blah. And totally different calculations happen when you calculate an invoice, or kind of, you know, you could come up with different other examples.
You're referring to reusing. Like if on the invoice you need the previous calculation from the price, from the order.
Not necessarily, because what you have on a what you have on an invoice is going to be most probably, like again, it depends on the business, but it's going to be a snapshot of what happened at a certain point in time. But if you would recalculate it today, you might get a different price, right? So it really depends. As a rule of thumb, if you have anything that is domain related, and even today, let's say today the discount team and the invoice team need to have exactly the same code. They should not reuse it. They should copy it. Why? Because it could change in the future, so you don't want them to share the same thing.
Thank you.
I'm so
You're
sorry. Oh, okay. I think we might have time for one more question, which, if it's small enough, then I know that this is really hard to stop you once you keep going, but maybe there's one more question. Anyone? No? Don't be afraid. Okay. Well, I suppose there's only one recipient of the JetBrains license. And all the undistributed license go to me, by the way. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is already set up. I was cautious about it. That's Daniel Rabizo. There's no tricks, like in Polish names. So one other thing I like more than spaghetti, it's money. Everyone likes money. Everyone needs money to live. Everyone needs money to buy spaghetti. So please, what was I talking about? Yes, please go ahead.
Okay,
Talk about
you.
money. How do you
Thank
make
you.
money? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel Rabizo. I'm a lead UI developer, and tonight I'm going to tell you how you can turn your existing Angular application, and this applies to every front-end framework, into the mobile application, and also connect payment to it and generate revenue with it. But first of all, I wanted to ask our audience, please raise your hand if you think that Angular is good for web, but not really suitable for mobile development. You can say whatever you think. Okay, so actually Angular, spoiler alert, is not the best framework for mobile development. And it lacks native mobile features. There is no cross-platform support for different devices like in Flutter or React Native. And also it's slower in development than React, for example. But what if after years of development of a big and successful project, a client now wants to publish it on the App Store? because the goal is to cost efficiently create a new revenue source, keep the same features of the app, just publish them to the App Store, and keep existing code unchanged. And last year I had such a successful story of such an application. I can't tell the real numbers, but in just 2 months, November and December, it generated more than 100,000 euro revenue in each month. And I want to explore the key steps involved into developing such an application. I remember the day when my client asked me, can we just take our Angular app and publish it to the App Store? I had so many questions and doubts in my head. How will it look like? If it's even a good idea, how will it feel like? Will users like it? Will it even work? What are the technologies to use? So I responded right away, let's do it, let's start. But then I faced real challenges. That first, we had an existing UI with all the elements, with header, with footer, with content. And some of you may know that there is an Ionic framework which was specifically created to develop mobile apps with Angular, and it also has its own components. And the question is, how do we integrate these components into existing UI? Because we didn't want to clash two frameworks and make it unmaintainable. Second of all, many of our features relied heavily on the browser API for files downloading, for opening things in new tabs, and none of this exists on the mobile anymore. So how do we also integrate it? And last but not least, the payment guidelines with Apple and Google are very strict because they want to take the commission. Apple takes 30% of commission and you can't avoid it. Because in their rules, it's like it's beyond the law to avoid. You can't redirect somewhere, so it's like illegal.
This happened like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So this, yeah.
Okay, JetBrains license right there. Yeah, so if you try to, 2 weeks ago, if you try to avoid this, straight to jail, it's not allowed. And the solution to the first two problems was to integrate mobile API with capacitor library. And capacitor library is a cross-platform native runtime for web applications. It means that you write the application once in JavaScript and build it automatically for iOS and for Android at once. And this way, there is no need for Ionic components and dependency at all, because capacitor is simply a wrapper, a web view wrapper inside the native application, which provides you a bridge from your Angular or from your front-end code to the device API. And with this way you can access many features like camera, file system, notifications, geolocation, and many, many more. The next problem we had is that, as I mentioned, we relied on the browser API, and we had two applications in NX monorepo setup, one for web, one for mobile, and around 70 feature libraries. And these feature libraries heavily depended on the browser API. And in applications like this on the market, you would most often see constructs like this. Like if we are in a mobile setup, do one thing. If we are in a web setup, do another thing. And this is what we want to avoid by any cost, because this makes the whole app unreadable and unmaintainable. So for example, we had to open a new tab from some feature, and this is not possible anymore on the mobile because there are no tabs at all. And the solution to this is to abstract this behind an interface and create separate implementations of this interface. So if we want to open a link in a new tab, we need an interface link opener with an open method, and we need two separate implementations of this interface. One is for mobile and another one is for web. The one for web just calls what I previously shown window open, and the one for mobile, it calls the capacitor plugin browser and opens an in-app browser. And the question is, how do we call this interface, call these services correctly? And Angular has one feature which makes, in my opinion, stand out among all other frameworks, is injection token. And you can create an injection token and say, okay, this service is for mobile application and this service is for web application. And in your feature, you should only depend on the abstraction on this injection token, and you just call the link opener open method, and you don't need any if-else logic for different platforms. So the next problem was enhancing mobile user experience, because if the app if it doesn't look good, it won't pass through the Apple or Google reviews. So the application has to be adapted for the mobile platform, and it has to look and feel good, because once you submit it for review to Apple and Google, the real testers will download the app and test it manually. And if it doesn't work, they will give you feedback probably to fix it, but it won't make right away to the App Store. Next is, in browser, we have these back and forth buttons with which we can navigate through the browser history. And of course, none of this exists on the mobile. There are no such buttons. So you have to implement the gesture support. And this is possible with some JavaScript and Swift code a bit for iOS. And in also to make your mobile application differ from the web application, you can implement push notifications to be able to engage with your users and lead them to purchase or send them relevant content, news, or whatever you prefer. And the question is, how? Okay, I have started creating such an application. How do I deploy it to the App Store and to the Google Play? So you need 2 developer accounts, one for Apple and one for Google. Of course, it's not free; it costs something, and your application will have to have a bundle ID. This is the unique identifier which stays with the application for its lifetime. You can never change it. The application can have an icon, name, pictures, or description, but the bundle ID always stays the same. And then you have to have an Xcode and Android Studio for deploying it. With it, you can publish your application directly to the Apple Developer Console and Google Play Console. And then the testers will download it, and in my experience, it usually takes 2-3 days on average to review the applications. And what's actually about the in-app payments? Because this was the reason why we even created this application. So for in-app payments, you need a payment provider, because you want to speak to a single API, because the in-app payments on Apple and Google are completely different things, and they are implemented differently. And this single API allows you to keep your code simple. Also, this API, this payment provider, will handle purchases, refunds, errors, and any events that happen in this process for you. And you can also have dashboards. Each payment provider has dashboards where you can see the whole information from both stores in one place, regarding the revenue, users, how much time it takes one user since he started the application until he made a purchase, and so on. And for this technology stack, for Angular and Capacitor, there are 2 main providers, RevenueCat and Conversion. RevenueCat is a bit more expensive than Conversion. Actually, both of them are free to a certain degree. But RevenueCat is a bit more expensive, but it provides better documentation and it has bigger clients, so we went with RevenueCat. And after you have chosen the payment provider, you can create your products, so the items which you're actually going to sell on your mobile application. And you have to create them separately in the App Store and in the Google Play. Once you define them there, you can import them to the payment provider and define name and description for them. But how do you actually access these products which you're going to sell in code? I'm going to explain you how. So from your front-end application, Angular, for example, you have to call the getProducts method of your payment provider. It's just a simple function which you import in your TypeScript class. Then you get a list of products, and each product has an ID, description, name, whatever, and you can show them in such nice cards with a purchase button. And once the user hits this purchase button, you have to pass the ID of the product to the payment provider by calling its purchase function. And what it does, it opens the native pop-up. For example, when you buy an application on the App Store, you get the pop-up where you can enter your password, Apple ID, or pay with a Face ID. This is just the same. And once this happens, the payment provider will have to call your backend. And on your backend, you need two endpoints for this. One is for saving the payment results, if the payment was successful, if there was an error, a timeout, or whatever, so that next time when user logs into your application, you can know, okay, this user has this product and we unlock certain features for these users. And the second endpoint is a status endpoint. So while all this purchase process is happening within minutes, for example, your front end has to poll your backend, means call the backend with regular, so that once the purchase is successful, you get the success and you can show the green notification on the screen or a red one. Or you can run in a timeout. So you need to know if it was successful or not. And up until this point, it still wasn't, so months of work were already invested, and it still wasn't clear if we're going to make through the review. Because we have to pass the Apple review, we have to pass the Google review, and some of the guidelines can be really strict and frustrating. Because, like you mentioned, if you would avoid the payment procedure 2 weeks ago, they would ban your app forever. So it's illegal on the App Store. Or if you will have to provide the link to your website or to your web application to the testers, they will also click it through. And if it's just the same as your mobile app, so your mobile app does not differ from the web app in any way, they will also provide feedback that they don't want anything that's just the same as the web application on the App Store, because it doesn't provide any use to the users. If you, by accident, mention Android on your iOS application, yeah, it can happen, yeah, they will also provide feedback for you to fix. Or if you're submitting an MVP and you have such coming soon placeholders, you will ship the feature soon, so you want to tease it. They also don't want anything of this on the App Store. And if your application is just another calculator, which are already thousands on the App Store, it doesn't provide any additional experience to users, they will also ban it. They don't want it. But we were lucky, we studied the guidelines very carefully, and we were lucky to publish it without any feedback on both stores on the first try. And a year since the application existed, we never got any feedback from Apple or Google.
Do you have any users?
We have more than 200,000 users. And once this all done, you can publish and profit from your application. And now I can answer your questions. By the way, you can scan this QR code. This is a link to my LinkedIn. And you can ask me questions there, or you can subscribe, because I post insights about front-end development regularly there too.
What are you selling in your app?
So the app,
What are you selling in your app? Thank you.
yeah, the app sells licenses to certain functionality of the app, and the functionality is for crypto traders to generate tax reports. So you buy a license for a year, and you can generate a tax report from profit of your transactions.
Have you ever faced any performance issues, and how do you, and have you ever faced any performance issues, and how do you maybe debug it?
Especially on Android.
Doesn't matter, yeah, but on mobile, yeah.
It's a good question. Actually, all performance issues would be related to the JavaScript code, because you don't have to deal much with what is compiled into Android or iOS. So the only performance is what you write in Angular or frontend or React or whatever you use. And the tools for that are the same. So Chrome DevTools and so on. Nothing mobile specific there.
Because Android devices are usually cheaper and lower, like CPU and everything else.
Ah, yeah, that's a good point, by the way. And if you have any performance issue with older devices, you can just exclude them from your. You say that, okay, we allow our app to be used on devices since 2019, for example.
Okay, is it on?
Okay. So I had a question about what your decision was to go with Ionic, given sort of how it's kind of older compared to something like Socket Runtime.
Can you repeat the last two words?
So there's another competitor to sorry, can't hear me. Okay. So there's a competitor to Ionic capacitor called Socket Runtime, which is newer and polyfills a lot of the things that you said were challenges, fixes a lot of those issues. I'm just curious if you had seen it before and you made a decision based on something, maybe what you could tell me what that decision might have been.
Yeah, I've never heard about this framework, but we went for capacitor because we can simply reuse our existing designs. It has great support, great community, documentation, and it can do anything we needed, all features we needed.
Does it also, is it also able to target Xbox and PlayStation and other things like that?
I think it's not, but our aim wasn't to target users on Xbox or Microsoft Store, because it would be kind of hard to manage all the transactions and crypto stuff on Xbox.
That's what Socket Runtime is good at.
Yes, so I tried Socket and it rolls. I have another question.
Yes, please pass.
Yes, but let's go to.
Okay, let's go in order.
Hi. So my question is it true that during winter months you can warm up your apartment running Android Studio alone?
It very much depends on the laptop you use.
Okay, thanks.
So for some laptops, yeah, definitely.
So this is a technical question. So this is about generalizing implementation of handling opening links, because you called it provide tokens method.
Yes.
And I'm curious whether this is providing types. So are you getting auto-completion from language server? Because I have seen that the provide tokens is an array of definitions, and I assume that Angular is handling this somehow in runtime. So I would say that you don't get auto-completion, and I think this looks really genius, and this is very smart to handle this like that. Obviously, this is a way to handle multiple platforms. This is basically strategy design pattern applied to in capacitor or any other framework. But my question is, do you rely on type definitions, or did you maybe fall back? This could be globally declared module, which is extending this like it's done in React Router, for example. But was this a problem for you when it comes to types, or did you apply this change just before the deployment to multiple platforms in the code? Okay, I hope you understand my question.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is decided at runtime which service will be called, and this is very much typed with TypeScript, because injection token is a generic which accepts an interface, and when you inject it then in Angular, you know which type it has and which method it has, so it's completely typed. Okay, so it works. It works, yeah.
Any more questions? Lovely.
Hello. Might be a silly question. Why didn't you use progressive web application for your purposes?
Because we had features with camera access. I'm not sure if PWA can do this. It can? Okay, we wanted like a more native experience rather than PWA. Can PWA be published on the App Store? Okay, maybe it can be on Google Play, but the goal was to generate revenue and target new users on the App Store platform. That's why we didn't go with PWA.
Right. We have still time for questions if anyone else is keen to. If not, then
Just a quick one, maybe.
all right.
Offline support?
Get your mic.
to also edit offline support to the mobile app, and maybe whether it like also migrated somehow to the web app in a way, or not at all?
We don't have any offline support, but this is of course possible. But this application specifically, if the user loses connection, it shows the screen, please connect with the internet. And as soon as you connect, it continues working.
Okay. So, if you remember, which one out of all of those questions speaks to your heart the most?
Can I
What would
choose
you
two
say?
questions? Two questions were really good.
I think you can. I allow you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I like the question from the colleague behind there, and the question about performance.
Woof! Congrats to everyone. These questions were selected. And thank you so much for sharing loads of useful information to us today. And yep, one more time, applause, please. And thank you so much. Right.
Thank you.
And with that in mind, you could probably already smell that to a certain degree, that we have some pizza waiting for everyone over there in that back room. If you just go straight out of that door, straight ahead, you will see the pizza. But if you need some drinks, they are in this fridge right here to my left. And I will see everyone back at 20:20. That would be roughly 30-ish minutes break. 2020. Please be back. Enjoy.
Raz. Dobra, sorry.
Okay, all good. Attention, everyone! We are going to start without whoever is in there in that room. We'll just close the door. We don't need to. We have the most loyal audience is here. This is what matters. Hell yeah! But they just don't care. Okay. Give me a second. I'll be back. Hey, everyone! Come on! Starting up! No one gives a fuck. Help me facilitate. Everyone has to go there. We are starting, fellas! All right, I have acquired a little bit of more loyal members of the WarsawJS community. So people are coming. You know what? I think we will just start. You're done already, all prepared. Okay, do you have the voice?
I don't know.
No, can we have the speaker, please?
1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I see.
Nice,
I
nice.
hear.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, with that in mind, maybe you could transfer the thing over so we could have. Yes. Perfect. So, with that in mind, we're going to talk about vibe coding up next, which is very close to our heart. It's very on the agenda all the time. You know, robots replacing humans, all that kind of stuff. But on the good side, you don't have to do the boring stuff. Anyway, please, everyone, welcome Mariusz Kaczkowski.
Thanks a lot. And thank you too for not leaving after the break. I know it's very late, everyone has been tired. It's been a long day. So I'm gonna try to make this presentation light and fun. Hopefully also insightful. So how many of you heard about vibe coding? Oh, that's a lot, because I thought this is like a kind of myth, you know, that people talk but nobody use it or just making fun of it. But what's the truth? Let's see. But before, let me just introduce myself. So I'm Mariusz Kaczkowski. During the day, working as a staff engineer at Box. During the night, I'm vibe coding, or using AI to do stuff, playing around like since the early days of ChatGPT 3.0. So did some hobby projects with it. But I'm personally struggling a lot with this new AI and agents the most, because as a night coder, you know, very often I need to wait a couple of minutes before I got the response. And it happens to me several times that I just felt asleep. So this is kind of deal breaker for the founders like myself, or in the coders, because you are not in the flow, right? If you try it, you know what I'm talking. But I assume everyone has some experience with the AI, and I will not explain the basics. So I'm not gonna go deep, like into the details, how LLMs work, what is the agents, what are the tools. I want to talk more about vibe coding. But before, this is like my second time on the stage on WarsawJS. First one was 7 years ago. I was talking about performance on the web page. I took pride for every millisecond kilobyte I was able to like save. Finding all those advanced techniques, you know, for optimizations where I could get my hands on. It was very satisfying. It was not like very available back then, but now I think the AI has changed the ecosystem a lot. Now the learning curve for almost everything is not that steep as it was before. Now you can ask AI, this one or another, to like give you some hints, give you suggestions, or even implement the code by itself. So is it like there is no more fun for us, programmer, who's passionate about it? I have some concerns. Okay, so together with my assistant, let's call it AI, we want to like present you a nice presentation about handing over code ownership to AI. So it's gonna be a bit about like more feelings, philosophy a bit, and rebuilding web apps with vibe coding. We have only 20 minutes, but this topic could be, I think, could go through like a couple of workshops or like a entire series of meetings. Who knows? Maybe they're gonna be follow-ups. Let's see. Let's start. Yeah, so the vibe coders. Is it a thing, these vibe coders? What is it? I mean, is it a joke or not? I did a quick research, and to be honest, some people already like think about themselves considering a vibe coders. We even have some expert vibe coder on the bottom. I wonder what is the difference. But yeah, I even was able to find some job offers for vibe coders. So definitely a thing worth chasing and putting to your resume. All right, so let's maybe start with some success story. Because if there is no success, then we shouldn't bother at all. So I just collect a bunch of them. So first one, it's about like a guy, didn't have like experience in development. I think he's kind of like a celebrity on Twitter, but either way. He made a flying simulator, later added multiplayer with WebSockets. Eventually, he was pretty successful. I heard he earned like $500,000 with the users, so kind of hard to like imagine, but he claims that's true. Another one, that's rewrite a Chrome extension within 5 minutes without even looking at the code. I mean, sounds great, sounds neat. Why don't do this? Everybody should do it. Another one, like front-end devs, it's so over. We should like change jobs, right? We should find something else to do. Because you can generate in one shot the entire landing page, entire apps, and that's basically true. I was able to do it with a bunch of models, like generate entire working application, mostly pure HTML and JavaScript, but why do we need frameworks if they are mostly like for the human, right? To have a more like maintainable code. If it's for AI, maybe we don't need it. And with this kind of approach, we just need to go and build stuff in a matter of minutes and collect the money. It's so simple. I mean, we should try. But not everyone succeeds, because at some point, very often you will hit the wall. So here we have a guy that claimed that he built the app with the cursor, already have customers paying for it. Yeah, everybody should start building. But then, after some time, this guy was facing some random attacks from the user. Nobody knows who were attacking him. Probably jealous people, right? Maxed out usage on API, random things on the databases. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. So is it the fault of the AI, fault of the software engineers? I don't know, but anyway, it's not the way. I think the vibe coding by itself, it was, I think, this year from Andrej Karpathy, the co-founder of OpenAI and I think the director of AI in Tesla. He come up with this tweet, which you can see, where he first time used this vibe coding term, explaining that it's like a new way of working. You can just talk, and I encourage you to talk with the AI. I think it's pretty neat. You can use Super Whisper or other tools. You don't need to check the code. You just go with the flow and have fun. Like have more time to spend with your family, with your friends. Chill, anything. Sounds great, yeah, but how does it work? What is it about? So long story short, it basically does those 4 steps. Of course, we could go deeper, distinguish more steps, but basically you describe what you want, then AI do the heavy lifting, then you need somehow to verify the changes, either with running locally, with your visual senses, or with the test that you will have written, or maybe AI maybe they will not write the test by itself if not asked. So it's up to you, or just believe it or not. Or maybe your users will test. That's also an approach. And then you iterate over and over again, polish your application, adding new features. That's basically the story. And it is possible. It's not like it's made up. But there are some subtle gotchas, and it's not applicable to all applications, at least based on my experience. I did some extensive research, was able to generate kind of card games for my kid, with the one prompt, and she was playing for 1 hour. That was awesome, but another game was not working at all. Was looking, but it didn't work. But models getting better and better every time. So maybe in 2 years from now, we're gonna have a totally different speech. Okay, what people think about vibe coding? Yeah, it's effective for straightforward tasks. Agree. Struggles with anything of moderate complexity. Like Tomasz said before, it depends, as always. Allows me to complete tasks in a fraction of the time. Yeah, that's true. Depends on the tasks. Democratizing software creation in a precedence way. Totally. People that have different background. I think The entire vibe coding opens a door like to all the designers, product managers, the people that know the business, that know what the user expects. So it's good for us engineers, you know, just maybe a bit more learn about those stuff, because those are the skills that will be useful, embracing not only vibe coding, but I think there's new trends that are emerging. And make me so angry with writing hundreds of lines of code for simple stuff and making assumptions. That's also true. Again, depends on the model you use, depends on the prompt you use. But for normal like usage, it's gonna happen a lot. That if you let AI go wild, it will do whatever it thinks you want without asking. Probably not a good idea. But also what nobody is talking about, and I wanted to touch upon during this presentation, is that's how somehow this vibe coding transforms, you know, the developer's relationship with the code. Maybe I'm too like sentimental here, but personally, I always like I'm building some like strong like bonds, sense of ownership and craftsmanship with the code, with the lines I write. So every line I write myself. Even if I use Copilot or the other auto-completion stuff, I know what I'm writing. I know what the code is about, and it's exactly most of the time doing what was intended to do. So right now we are shifting slowly like away from this approach. So more, it's like we can observe this shift in valued skills are gonna be needed. So from syntax knowledge and algorithms design to effective AI communication and like project organization, the project, because if the project is simpler, easier to digest by AI, the better for the kinds of AI, because you should also, I think, educate in what the LLMs are, what are the limitations, because this is not a true artificial intelligence. I'm sure everyone knows, but very often when I'm like mentoring my team, finding that the people don't really understand what the AI was designed to do and what are those limitations. So what can go wrong? Like, okay, I mean, maybe it will not work, we can fix it. I mean, AI can fix, but there are some other problems you can face. The first one, right? We can introduce lots of vulnerabilities, if not ask explicitly. Even if asked explicitly, it would be nice to know if the solutions that AI propose make sense. They can be harmful on one hand. Maybe they look good, but they have some caveats. And if we don't have this technical expertise, we're doomed. 2 engineers can now create tech debt of at least 50 engineers. Also true, can even be, I think, 100 and more, depends. So this is about the spaghetti, right? If you don't have a good guidelines and AI is not controlled, the application maybe work on one shot. Is good like for some prototypes, POCs. But if you want to debug or extend this application, I wish you good luck. But I don't say it's not possible, but it's just a bit harder, and you need to have to know what to look for. Yeah, my project became too big for Claude. No, that has to digest. So this is like another limit. The context window, especially like, even if they claim they have like 1 million tokens of context, very often it's not true. I think this is marketing. LMs are very often like losing where the previous decisions are not able to find the information without like the very long prompt, or just gonna take too many operations like to get what you want. So the more precise we are, the better for the outcome. Yeah, and first avoid bill. Yeah, I think whenever payments are involved, you need to be very, very careful, unless you're gonna learn the hard way. Okay, nobody is perfect. I want to try this vibe coding, because we assume that this avatar that looks weirdly similar to me at some point want to try vibe coding. Okay, and I made the app called the Prompt AI. This is a true app. I recommend you to take a look. This is one of my hobby projects where I just was playing with the models where you can run the prompts like side by side, compare the results. Very useful if you want to do experiments with all those kinds of models and prompts. Yeah, and I want to rebuild it because it was done the old way, the old-fashioned way, the boring one, like outdated. I want to be less complex, and so I want to ship features faster, right? Just ask AI I want new feature, and now it's done. Yeah, sure. What would you like to change? So, if it's a wish list of mine, I think I shouldn't limit myself, right? Because I should be capable of doing almost anything. So maybe let's try it from scratch. yeah, improve accessibility, implement interrelation. I want themes, because I always wanted, but took a lot of time to build. Test coverage should be there. I hate write tests for my hobby projects, but if it's by AI, it comes for free. Good idea. What else we know? Mobile first would be great. My app don't support mobile first because it's not many users on mobile for this kind of app, but if it's for free again, why not? And what my assistant is suggesting? He's suggesting, yeah, oh, so issues, no, web coding. So he wants to try something new because I taught this assistant for some time and he knows exactly like what we can face. We've been there, we've seen the problems, so he's smarter. This assistant of mine is like level beyond, he's learning. Okay, so the first plan, doesn't look simple. Because vibe coding at first glance is supposed to solve the problems with single prompt, with speaking, talking. Maybe it sometimes can, but just to be safe, and from my experience, I want to come to this battle prepared. And this preparation is not free. It's very complicated. So if I want to rebuild the app, I can apply to new app as well. So first of all, let's analyze what we need to do. Let's ask maybe what technology we should use. If we know, that's better. If no, like most of those designers and product managers that want to be new founders, they have problems. They need to rely on the AI having like outdated news, entirely. So next, I want like to have a very detailed implementation plan for all the aspects. Because I want to start with scaffolding the project, and I want to do it phase by phase, just to limit the scope, the size of the context that AI will need to digest. This way, if we target, this AI with a specific plan, the detailed plan, we have higher chances to get what we want. But in order to do it, we need this expertise. We need to we need to know those things exist. We can ask AI to come up with the plan, but it's the same like doing everything, letting him to do it itself. Okay, generating. Okay, this is like some artifacts are getting generated. During this interpretation, we don't have much time to go into all the details. I want to just scratch the surface here. So some examples, because I'm like a big fan of those markdown instructions, documentations that I create along my vibe coding, before, during, and after. Also found it very interesting, to add those check marks, to-do fashion, items to the list. So whenever AI complete the part, I ask it to mark it as completed. So sometimes, the agent does breaks in the middle of operation. You don't know what has happened, what not. Those check marks are easier, letting you track the progress. Or if you need a pause, you need to go back, you need to go sleep, for instance. Then you can come back and know more or less where it has been, where it finished last time. On the top left corner, you can see some files, markdown files that were generated, because as I mentioned, very often I start with the single file, because this is easier to review, because the manual review is very involved into the project. Again, I need the expertise. I need to know what I'm expecting. Even if maybe I'm not writing a single line of code here, because the vibe coding by itself, I think the definition is not clear, it's evolving. So it's more like the beginning of the journey for vibe coding. It starts with let us just give a prompt and AI do the stuff. I just take a part of it, I add my expertise in the middle of the process, and the results are much better. I boost my productivity, and I learn a lot, because AI is suggesting many things that I never thought about. For instance, using this a plan for the themes. I just wanted dark and light. Just why not? But then AI suggested, what about OLED one? What about high contrast? OLED one, what is the OLED one? Because if you use a 000, for the black color, it's better supported on the OLED devices. I never knew that. Who knows? So I learned something. High contrast, I wouldn't implement it by myself. But if you want to be accessible, and it can come up with the good colors by itself, which the AI did for me, based on some colors, initial ones. And it proposed opposite, light and dark themes for myself. I just give it the colors I had from my previous version of the application, which was entirely dark theme. Results were pretty satisfying, to be honest. Yeah, so I end up with a bunch of the files. Okay, are we done? Are we done? Not really. It's still some points left to be done. So if we want this new application or revamped application to be easy to extend, to ship those features faster as intended, we need to prepare. So the first preparation was just to make a ground. Now we need the tools, we need the weapons. So personally, after some experiments, I came up with this like a minimal list of documents I need. So first of all, coding standards, which includes just regular stuff which I would expect from the coding standards. So what kind of, if it's for TypeScript, is it types or interfaces, tabs versus spaces, and so on. Some things could be handled by ESLint, for instance, and I would encourage to let ESLint do its job, because the less things we add to the context of the AI, the better. So put only the things that matter and that are really hard to be auto-fixed with the ESLint or Prettier. That's one recommendation. UI components guideline. Why do I need it? I don't know, maybe I'm biased towards those, because I found it really useful if I have defined set of components that can be used across the app with the shared functionality, styling, makes developing application much simpler. So instead of creating those divs with the inline style every time, let's create those components once at the beginning and can review them, ideally within the storybook, why not? Isolated, easy to spot any differences. You can add more stuff like visual regression testing if you really want to. Testing guidelines. Why do we need tests? And this is like a good point here for the agents vibe coding. I think tests are essential, because every time you run a prompt, the AI can go wild, can start changing things you didn't intend to. You can deliberately ask it to don't make any changes in the test files. Don't make any changes apart from this code you are about to modernize. But this is sometimes agents misbehave, don't listen to you. Things like it thinks better than you. Maybe it knows, maybe not, but at least I think as we pay for those tokens, we should be in the control. And the last but not least, prompts, generic prompts. So I have also a list of prompts, like for generating new component, generating new storybook, generating new test, generating specific implementation plan. It sounds like a lot, but when you have it, it's really gonna be a drastic change for you. Because then if you want to add a new feature, you just write the prompt. Okay, for instance, implement me a new radio button. Or maybe something more complex, some dialogue for sign up. And then you just add the context, the guidelines, so you can add the UI component guideline, you can add some coding standards, you can just drag and drop different stuff, and basically you're good. The results you're gonna get will be more predictable. If you have some examples, that also would be nice to add to the context. If you have a template, that's even better. So the more things you have prepared, you can just add it to the context. And every time you add a new component until you see something that could be useful to add the guidelines, just ask AI, update the documentation guidelines with the new findings, with the decisions we made together, because you're gonna talk with the AI on the chat anyway, trying to refine the prompts, the results. So yeah, endless possibilities here, but you need to be aware what's going on. Very often, at the beginning, happened to me that I trusted AI too much. It did once something good, and now improve it. I didn't check the results, do something else. Yeah, I thought, okay, looks good in the code, more or less. Go on. If I went crazy, it was very late in the night, and I wasn't thinking the way I should. I was running two IDs next to each other. One was a cursor, another was windsurf. In the cursors, I have even multiple tabs. So I was switching between those windows, asking every window, every chat a different prompt, different thing to work on a different part of the application, because it allowed me to speed up the process. This way, instead of waiting for one prompt, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, I could immediately jump from one to the other that was already finished. The cursor has a very neat settings that allows you to play the sound when it's done. So I recommend this like a must-have, the best thing in the cursor. So this presentation, I think, could be also only about this one point, and it would be worth the money. Okay, move on. Finally, let's implement something, please. Please, I'm done with the preparation. Oh no, I need to do something else. Oh, maybe I need to change the job. It's not fun. I mean, I think coding is more fun, maybe slower, maybe less productive, but if your boss pay you for it, don't complain. And yeah, maybe try to do both. And this is basically what I do. I have like times where I only vibe code or do things like this. And then sometimes I just have a time dedicated to program. So I turn off all those stuff. I go back to IntelliJ. And then I do the real coding, right? Not disturbed. And then I go back again to agents if I need to do some boilerplate stuff, boring stuff, which does take my time. Yep. So what is the interesting here? Yeah, verify. You need to verify each line. So this is like a code review. You know, for the last few years, I am working as a staff engineer, and this is basically very similar to my work. I mostly review the code. I less often write the code. And so if you are on a similar like position or a role, it will not change a lot. The only difference is that you cannot argue that much, and AI sometimes can outsmart you. And I mean, it's a really difficult topic, you know, like how you can convince AI to make a change or not. Like, I think it's missing the people factor here. Okay, run up locally, check if it works as expected. I mentioned before, you can check it manually, storybook, test as well. Run agent Rust ESLint, test, and try to fix our errors. There's a very, I think, nice practice. Very often it will do it automatically, like checking the ESLint errors and fix it, but sometimes you need to ask it. Like for TypeScript errors, I needed to ask it like exactly run tsc -b and fix all errors. It took some time, a couple of iterations, but yeah, it helped me a lot with those kind of work. Ask agents to scan code for security vulnerabilities. Important point, depends on what type of application you're working on. But again, you need some knowledge. You need to know if it's like a false positive, is it important? Because if you have no idea about security, it's better do nothing. I mean, or rely on the AI entirely, up to you. You're gonna introduce exploits anyway. If all looks good, yeah, ask AI to update docs for future references. Also mentioned, your docs instruction prompts should stay up to date. If you want to vibe code this way, in using this approach, you will be maybe sad, but you will do your work. I mean, depends. Maybe we'll get used to it. It's like a big paradigm shift, in my opinion, the way the software development can work right now. So over? Yeah. Maybe I can very speed up. So this is like a diagram, what the process looks like. Use AI to generate diagrams, by the way. That's very neat and simple. Okay, I wasn't expecting. Generate, I need to speed up, so sorry. AI doesn't work so fast. Okay, this is like a one shot, something I got from the vibe coding. In the storybook, it just was able to create this kind of design tokens explorer. Very neat, to be honest. I would never do it this detailed. Dark theme, work nice, some spacing. Yeah, and buttons, looks great. Out of the box, right? I didn't ask for it, and it gave me so many good variants. Yeah, the last slide. So, yeah, I believe that maybe it's not the vibe coding you were hoping for. Same for me, but at least you are in control. Generated code is more predictable, so less surprises. All AI handles all the boilerplate. Good. Yeah, you are still needed. So don't worry. We are still needed in this industry. Thank you.
I apologize for 1, 2, 3. Yep, is it good? Yep, I think it is. Yeah, I apologize for cutting off because we have quite a few lightning talk speakers, but fantastic job. Maybe we could have a time for... Yeah, a couple of quick ones maybe, very quickly.
Thanks for a great talk. Just a quick question. By documentation, I think you were referring to cursor rules and memory banks. Or
Not explicitly. Cursor, because you don't need to use cursor for vibe coding. You can. Cursor rules is a good thing, but cursor rules should be really small. Like I think up to 500 lines max.
but many files.
Many
You can
files,
have as many as you want, and with their description and everything.
That's right, but this is, I was more referring to like project documentation, why there are some decisions, how does it work together, so it's easier to find whatever you want. Like for instance, for the UI components, I created a like dedicated document with some mermaid diagram, like was allow you to find the exact one you need based on the needs. So we check like, do you need like a controlled, uncontrolled, do you need a, I don't know, some states or not states, and there was like a okay, I need this component, so much easier to find a good one. But cursor rules, yeah, didn't mention, that's a must. I mean, take your time to configure them the way you want.
Thank you. And a quick, tiny one. Have you tried Taskmaster for like?
Yeah, very briefly. I mean,
You know, you're not
promising.
getting more licenses.
That's
right?
that's. I mean,
it's
Taskmaster is
free. You just use your Anthropic API key. So
yeah, they released I think second version
That's
recently. Good to try.
Okay, just one. I think I saw that hand over there first. I apologize. It's yes. Thank you.
Thank you for the topic. So my question is a short one. Who will be responsible for the code of line? Developer, regulators, or the company?
For the code? Oh, sorry,
For the code of line. Line of code. Sorry.
Okay, I think it's always the engineer who commit the code, in my opinion, because even if you take it from Stack Overflow, I mean, you own it. You need to check it. I mean, but what can go wrong with the code? I mean, ideally there should be some code review process, but anyway, I think it's always on the engineer, because why company should? There's no way like for them to track what you're doing. I mean, we don't want any supervisors checking our codes more than needed. I mean, I don't know if I answered your questions. If that's what you were meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, is there a question that vibed with you really hard?
Yeah. How many licenses I have?
I think just one. I think there's just one left. Maybe two. How many did we give away? 3? We did. Yeah, you have one.
Okay, so for the first person, I think that was interesting.
Oh no, not him.
No,
Oh, okay.
not him. So don't stop asking questions.
Okay, there is exception, everyone. I will allow one more question from that you did raise a hand. I remember that. You don't want it. Anyone who wants a license wants to ask who's super specific, interesting, very interesting question that will blow us away. You, yes.
Thank you. What is your opinion on test-driven development in terms of vibe coding? If you write the test yourself, but vibe code the implementation?
Yeah, no, to be honest, I was thinking about it some time ago, a few days ago. And personally, I'm not a big fan of TDD. I see the value, but with the AI, I think it's like it's not a good match, because when you do, you need to refine it many times, the outcome of the AI, you need to refine the test as well. Depends maybe on the specifics. If it's a very like a logic-oriented feature, yeah, maybe. But if you're talking about UI, I would suggest to experiment by yourself, because the entire ecosystem AI thinks it's new and we should experiment as much as possible. Like there is no good answer here, I think. It depends what you prefer, what you like. Didn't work for me.
Okay. Well, was it a good question?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry there's no more, but yes, you will get your license. Thank you so much for your talk. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, we're stretching our time thin, but no one needs to go home, right? We have all the time in the world. So while we are at here, our friends at EPAM are running a couple of, from what I've seen, free events about Node.js and Nest.js. I think one is in Warsaw, the other one is in Krakow. Krakow, that's how you say it? Yeah. So you can scan the QR code if you're interested. There's a lot of fun stuff there, so maybe there's something for you. And with that in mind, we would invite a person who is usually behind the screen, behind the headphones, behind the laptops, everything. Is the juice, the technical juice running this meetup. And he's going to talk about something very interesting here. We will see. Well, I am quite sure it's going to be interesting. The title I really liked a lot. How I scrummed my company. Oh, there you go. That's the right one? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just use that worst case scenario.
Okay. Okay, so we will go do it manually. Okay, hello everyone. It's strange to be on this side of the event, so please forgive me if something goes wrong. Also, please note that this is my first public speech in English. As you can hear, this is not my first language. Thank you. So let's go, because I have only 5 minutes, and I already know that I will not do it in 5 minutes, so we can just throw away this timer. I want to talk to you about Agile. And you may wonder why anybody in 2025 wants to talk about Agile, when we all know that this train has left the station a long time ago. What can I say? I would like to talk about Agile because this is the story I can tell you from customer perspective, from perspective of a person who is not in the IT environment. This is one reason. I don't have my notes here, so this is even more stressful, but we will try to do it. Second reason, I think that while now I'm in the IT environment and I talk to all these people, I can see that this hype train or hype cycles are repeatable. So if we had hype cycle for Agile, we are now having hype cycle for something else. But we can learn something from this previous cycle and be better next time when something happens. And while we talk about AI, I also would like to share with you these great pictures, AI-generated pictures of cats, because cats are great. And last but not least, I just really like this title. So I wanted to talk about it. It was a great part of my life, and I want to share it with you. My name is Krzysztof Chojnacki. You can call me Chris. I am a junior JavaScript developer. I have some experience with IT projects now. And I like cats. I don't know if you can see it. Back then, 8 years ago, I was operations manager. I had close to zero experience with IT projects. And I also liked cats. Some people, maybe if you are sitting somewhere further, you cannot maybe not see me, and I want to be recognizable. So this is my picture. So you can, when we meet somewhere, you can know who you are talking to. As I said, I was operations manager of a medium-sized company, and this company needed software. ERP kind of software which would just take care of all the processes or almost all processes in company. And we have some relationship with software house which did some smaller stuff for us, and we asked them for offer. And they give me, I was personally responsible for it, they give me offer in two variants, waterfall and agile. I had absolutely no idea what Agile meant, what it was, how it was done, what it was about. But, and I'm paraphrasing what I heard they told me on this meeting. They told me that if I go Agile, I could have the same software for the 5th part of the price. If I go Agile, I will have prototype in 2 or 3 months. If I go Agile, I will have full working product, full working software in 6 to 9 months. And the only disadvantage would be that I would have work on it much more thoroughly. I would have involved much more into this project. For me, this was not the disadvantage, this was advantage. I wanted to do it, I wanted to dive into it, and I wanted it to be as adjusted as possible. And full disclosure, I didn't ask about risks. They didn't tell me anything about the risks. So it was pretty clear which way I chosen. Only questions I asked was, what is Agile? And they give me this. Some of you may know it. Agile Manifesto is 12 points that talk about, on very top abstraction level, they talk about how Agile wants to be perfect, wants to, maybe not perfect, but wants to deliver very good software in iterations, wants to talk, listen to customers, etc., etc., etc. You can't tell from Agile Manifesto how it is working, how it is looking like every day. So it was all. You may already imagine how it finished. For the first 8 months, we worked very hard, both me and this software house. You may ask what with this prototype or minimal value product, there was none after 3 months. And you may further wonder why I didn't ask any questions and didn't want to improve something in this process. I was too deep into this. You can call this, I think, lost cost fallacy, something like this. I invested so much, I wanted it to be good, to be finished, to be delivered, and I believed that it could happen. But after 8 months, when they promised that we will receive something about after 9 months, and this is coming to this deadline, I started asking questions. We started negotiations, we started arguments, and we finished in lawsuit, which took 3 years. After 3 years, a judge who didn't know anything about software development, anything about doing anything connected to IT, judge said that this is nor our fault nor this software house fault. This is just business risk, and we could not start this project. Then we wouldn't lose money. So we went separate ways. For those of you who have sick and dark sense of humor like me, months after last trial, we paid last installment of loan we took for this project. So, what was the consequences? For us, both and for this software house, we lost time, they lost time. We lost trust to them, they lost trust to us. And we both lost money, a lot of money. And now getting back to present, when I'm more in the IT environment and I work with customers and I talk to customers. And I often think about this situation and what could I do to not make it happen, and what could I do from this IT perspective, what they could do to prevent this situation. Of course, assuming they were honest. Because until this day, I don't know if they were honest and honestly wanted to work with us and deliver this project, or they just were just ripping us off. So, but let's assume that you are honest and you want to work with your customer to give them something good. Never assume customer's knowledge. I'm not saying that you should treat customer as maybe stupid, but treat him as stupid in IT part of the game. Customer doesn't know what hype train is, how these hype cycles work, and that something that you may be interested in using some new tool that everybody are talking about. You should be intermediary between customer and this whole hype environment that is telling us that we should use always the newest tools, always try to be the best and follow all the trends. You should always very truly explain all the risks that are connected to the methods and tools that you will be using. And all these 3 points were pretty obvious, I think. But the last one is from me. And I didn't test it, unfortunately. But if you want to treat customer honestly, try to assure that the customer will assign somebody who will be supervising this project and will be not connected to this project, will not be involved in this project, will not have emotions to this project, will not want to deliver this project as fast and as good as possible. Because when such a person has a vote right, this person can prevent catastrophe like we had in my company. And this is all from me. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it.
That was whoop, 1, 2, 3. Am I still up? Yeah. All right. Well, that was really incredible. Are you sure this is your first time, or just okay? Because you did the really like a thing that seasoned speakers do. You like seamlessly did like you performed a sip of water in a way only professionals do, like almost without breaking anything. It was just about perfect.
Thank you.
Right. We have time for questions because I talked to some of the other Lightning Talk speakers. They decided to donate their questions time to
thank you.
just because of the courtesy of the person working behind the curtains all the time. And do we have questions? There is one. Please receive the cube of voice.
Catchbox.
Thank you. What do you think? Are there any spheres or situations where Agile can rather make things worse than help the situation, help the process?
I think that Agile is very good methodology when is implemented correctly. I could talk about this situation. I overthought it for many, many times, and I see what we did wrong, and it is more than 20 minutes of talking. But in this situation, the problem was not with Agile, but with using it by this software house. So I think in most situations, Agile would add some value, but there are, of course, situations like working for government where you can't use Agile, and you don't want to use Agile because you have to specify exactly what you will need. Does it answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
All right. Do we have anything else? All right. There was just... Yeah. Yes. Lovely, lovely. And we have something about LinkedIn? No. All right.
No.
Perfect.
No worries.
And please meet our next speaker.
Miho.
Of course. Yeah. I knew that all the time. I was
No
like,
worries.
oh, that's Miho. We are good friends coming back years ago.
Thank you. Hello. Can you hear me? Oh, perfect. Okay, so 2 years ago, I was at WarsawJS 104, and I gave a presentation that was titled "How to Make $2 Out of a Lot of Work." 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I gave a presentation about how to make $4 after a lot of work. And today I'm giving a lightning talk about $10,000, which is a huge... Wait, I didn't make it yet. And I will need you. That's why I'm here. I'm gonna need your help a bit. But I've been vibe coding a lot lately. And I always said that writing code is the easy part, deciding what to write is the harder one. And I've always been limited by my keyboard in terms of what I can do in that case. So, since AI joined my workflow with Cursor Composer, it became more apparent. In that previous presentation, I've talked about learning Rust with Cursor. So, what if I could talk what I want to build to the computer? And I wanted to give you a short demo. Thankfully, I have a boom mic, but it's not a problem. Here is the code of the presentation that I have. I'm going to make it a tiny bit larger so you can see. And I'm going to press one button and say, hello, make the code text red. And in a matter of a second, the transcription is there. I can obviously run it. It will work. It's Cursor, etc. But let's say I'm talking a lot and make the code text blue, or no, make it yellow. Or sorry, I missed my cue. I'm gonna pick a persona, and I'm gonna make the AI transform what I said into something straightforward. Make the text blue, or you know what, make it yellow, and write some tests. And now, not only do I have the transcription, but also the AI in the meantime changes my text to include only the important information. So this is how a straightforward persona works. But imagine you've got a colleague that's like very stubborn and you don't want to answer him again because he's like making your head burst. David, please go away. And now you have a persona of a nice guy who just writes, I know the people cannot see it, but it said, why not join us later? So you can have, for example, a persona that transform your text into a nice guy text. Or I'm not fully a LinkedIn guy, but sometimes you have to go with the worst part and do some marketing. So imagine you have a marketing assistant, and I gave it a screenshot, write a post about what you see on the screen. So it also has access to the screen, and this marketing assistant should give us, with the access of the screen, the possibility to write this. Obviously, yeah, similar. You can also go, no, make it shorter. And it will just transform this text. Let's not. It will work. It will work. Yeah, it worked. Okay. So yeah. So yeah. Imagine you can use it everywhere, anywhere. And now I wanted to to not just be here and talk about my tool. This is written in Tori, which is a Rust plus TypeScript, and it runs on all of the platforms. We have reasons why we did that. We've used AI for it a bit to write it, and it uses cobbled CPP for the models, and for the future we have a lot of ideas. But I wanted to ask you one thing, because we're running a competition in a hackathon. If you would be able to download the app and just run it once, it would mean a lot of things for us. If you would be able to run it and maybe use it later, that's cool. It's all free. It's like I have a bunch of money in tokens. Sorry? It's Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. It works everywhere for all of the desktops. So you can run it, and this gives us a bigger chance to get the prize. So thanks a lot. If you're interested, you can talk to me later also. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow. You are perhaps the most punctual of all the speakers we have today. Well, perhaps except for one person who finished earlier, which was a welcome thing as well. Well, yeah, I love the punctuality here and there. Now, we have Piotr, who is going to share some space technology with us. Well, actually, in fact, it's a very old technology, and it's called Morse code. And Piotr here built a Morse code translator, so to say. Is that the right word? Translator, transcoder.
Yeah, you could say it that way.
Lovely. The stage is yours. And don't forget the applause, please. Thank you.
Not my. I have no idea what I'm showing right now. Yeah. That's nice. So, my job here is done. That was the How do I mirror the screen? Like here? Yeah, but I'm rarely mirroring. So, why is 6 afraid of 7? That's right. We're almost there. Thank you very much. So, I know I have very little time, but also my battery is very low. So maybe it's a race condition. My name is Piotr. I am here on behalf of the Ministry of Silly Apps. And what we have developed in the ministry is the Morse code encoder. So I guess we all should know the most basic message in Morse code, which is SOS, right? As you can see, it transcribes to human readable text. It also works all the way around. Exactly. And there is one thing, I hope it will work. And WarsawJS to you, kind sir. All right. But let's go to the fun part, which is code. By the way, this was vibe coded A to Z. And what it is, it's a Svelte app. That doesn't really matter. But a question to the audience: how would you implement the Morse code to text translation? With a hash map. It's obvious, right? Wrong. We don't do obvious in the Ministry of Silly Apps. We do ifs. So, but let's actually turn it up a notch, because if you can see, I've divided those characters like in half. First half is the characters starting with a dash, and the second half is characters starting with a dot. And this can go all the way down. So, nested ifs. That's right. We have all the combinations over here, and which basically it creates a sort of a tree. But actually, we have a system with a finite set of states. We have deterministic transitions between those steps. We have very clear initial step. We have a very well-defined final states. What we do have is a state machine. So over here is a state machine implemented from scratch as a class. We have like our trunk of the tree. So from the beginning, we can go with a dash, with a dot, or just end of character. From the dash, we can go to dash dash or dash dot. Or if it's a leaf node, we end up here with a letter T. And of course, somewhere down the line, there's this implementation. There's a text splitting and composition of the result. But actually, we are just one abstraction away from making our lives easier. And why not using a library for that, which is XState, which is exactly the same thing. It should be more readable, but surprisingly, it takes more lines than the class which I showed you a moment ago. So we have the same thing, actually. We have our trunk of the tree. We can then traverse it, I'd say, with a dot dot or dot dash. And for some reason, a single dot will end up as an action for adding a letter E to the result. There were also, and this is the implementation which was used in the example. Of course, translating from human readable text to Morse code is just a hash map. There's nothing special about it. It's all tested. So this is the map, and these are the tests. So it's this lightning talk has it all. It has almost all. It has code. It has handsome speaker. It has humor. What it lacks are conclusions, because I have no idea what to do with this knowledge, but maybe you will. Thank you very much for your attention.
That's the kind of a lightning talk that I adore a lot. All right. Well, yeah, I'm just going to casually connect this right here. Thanks, everyone, for your help. There you go. Don't mind me. I'm just typing a password. Yep. And how do I do that again? This is just the full screen thingy. There you go. Well, as we are approaching the end of all the talks, all the fun stuff, well, there's a short networking session just ahead. So, with that in mind, please take out your phones. I see some phones already, and fill out the survey. This helps us a lot. It helps us to deliver maybe your constructive criticism or feedback, or just the sheer feeling of happiness of why, like, oh, yeah, I'm so happy to be here. You can type that in the text box and let us know. Let us know how it went. It means a lot to us, right? And up next, we have Meetup number 127. And we have some quite amazing speakers, quite a lineup. And that's going to be on June 11th, if I'm not mistaken. Right. We finally have the QR code deep dive. I think someone promised a QR code deep dive a couple of meetups ago, right? Well, I'm so tired for some reason. I had 2 job interviews today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, please come. And of course, the discount. Don't forget, if you're a forgetful person like me, scan a QR code. Never miss next meetup. Is there another? Give me a second. Yes. So scan this one if you want to just get the ticket to the next meetup with a discount, of course. But what is much better than that is scan this QR code and get a yearly pass for a funny number, which is 420 PLN. And I actually got this because I always forget a ticket at the last minute, so now I just don't have to think about it. With that in mind, everyone scanned the QR code? Yes, I think this is the last slide, so there's no conclusion slide, which means... What? Oh yeah, everyone, please now come up stage. You can clap for yourself when you're up on stage, right here, right now, and then we'll take a big picture. Come on, come on. I'm just waiting for you. Yep. Perfect. Say state machine. Lovely. And now we have time until 10 o'clock, I think, in which time we can talk to each other, ask Lightning Talk questions to Lightning Talk speakers, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.